sharing another name with you all today who helped shape history not only here, but for all the U.S. She will be sharing this woman's story again on Friday, July 26th at her event celebrating the Americans with Disabilities Act. Please welcome speaker number 1, Victoria Wells.
Though the Americans with Disabilities Act was not passed until 1990, the independent living movement began much earlier, gaining traction in the 1960s alongside the civil rights movement. Ed Roberts is largely considered the founder of this movement, having challenged and overcome many barriers related to society's perceptions of disability. He overcame many things in his life, like attending the University of California, Berkeley, after they told him, "You can't, you're too disabled." He also established their first student program for students with disabilities. And then with those same people went on in 1972 to establish the first Center for Independent Living, because they all refused to live incognito any longer. He was then appointed the director of California's vocational rehabilitation in 1976, after this same agency told him he was too disabled to work about a decade earlier. That same year, across the country, right here in Central Florida, determined disability advocate Beverly Chapman established Central Florida's Center for Independent Living. At 12 years old, Beverly Chapman was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, but she refused to be a victim of her circumstances. She became a tireless advocate for others like herself, lobbying for disability rights at the local and statewide levels. After moving to Orlando from Massachusetts, she led the coalition, unpaid for many years, that established the Center for Independent Living in Central Florida, or CIL, as many of us affectionately call it. She served as its first director from 1979 to 1981. But Beverly Chapman was not only a founder, dreamer, challenger, speaker, she was also an aspiring writer. Her column in the Orlando Sentinel, Accessing Life, was a source of hope, advocacy, and advice for many in Central Florida. As the need for disability resources in Central Florida grew, CIL outgrew its small office near the Florida Hospital. And in 1985, the Winter Park location, right behind the Cheesecake Factory, was chosen for its local culture of support, as well as its proximity to public transportation, shopping centers, and medical institutions. This office expanded to serve 350 clients and added services for the deaf community. We are one of the only that has that in this area. As of last year, we are the oldest physical CIL in existence, with over 400 of our centers around the country. And we received a historical marker due to the efforts of local disability champions, chip buyers, that honors that fact and Beverly Chapman's life. Another project of Beverly Chapman's was the Beverly Chapman Act. This was an act that helped improve accessibility on toll roads. As an advocate for independent living, Beverly Chapman noticed that some people with disabilities who drove and utilized the Florida highway system were unable to physically reach out to pay the toll roads. This act was passed, the toll permit program was passed in 1988, making it more accessible for those with disabilities. And in 1989, President George H.W. Bush named Beverly Chapman Disabled American of the Year. In 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed. This act was rejected many times and reintroduced with edits and new hope. Independent living activists all around the country rallied together time and time again to ensure that this monumental act would get through. These were due to the efforts of people like her, Ed Roberts, Judy Newman, and many more. It is one of America's most comprehensive pieces of civil rights legislation prohibiting discrimination on the basis of disability and declaring that people with disabilities have the same opportunities and rights as everyone else. Beverly's work lives on through this act, through the Toll Act, and through CIL. We serve over 1,000 people in Central Florida each year with programs like our Family Disability Navigator, helping families receive diagnosis, helping them know where to turn next for accommodations for their children in schools. We help people get home modifications. We ensure that if you need to learn about budgeting or need assistance understanding how to apply for benefits, we're here for you. What I take from Beverly Chapman's story is pride. Pride to be able to carry on a part of her awesome work and ensure that her legacy is remembered. I also take a lesson in determination. Beverly Chapman didn't look at the challenges and say, never mind. She said, bring it on. Her accomplishments are still positively impacting Central Floridians and beyond.